All right. A number of Republicans in Congress and elsewhere oppose Roosevelt. They know something has to be done, but believe the New Deal has gone too far. These critics include the many wealthy people who regard FDR as their enemy. They believe many of his programs are socialistic, like the Tennessee Valley Authority and his rural electrification program. The second New Deal gave them even more to hate. The FDR pushed through a series of higher taxes aimed at the rich. One of those was the Revenue Act of 1935, also known as the Wealth Tax Act. It raised the tax rate on incomes over 50,000 and profits of corporations. Many rich called him a traitor to his class. Social Security. Many claim that Social Security penalized successful, hardworking people by forcing them to pay into the system. Others feared control of society because everyone had a number. A group called the American Liberty League led much of the uh, opposition towards Roosevelt. Some say it doesn't do enough. Upton clear believed that the nation's entire economic system needed to be reformed in order to cure that he believed to be a permanent crisis. A socialist, he sought solutions that went far beyond the New Deal style reforms. In 34, he ran for governor of California. His platform was "In Poverty in California Epic." He called for a new economic system in which the state would take over factories and farms. He was popular and won the Democratic primary, but his opponents then used shady tactics to discredit him. They produced fake newsreels showing people with Russian accents endorsing Sinclair. Being that he was associated with communism, he lost the election. We have demagogues, leaders who manipulated people with half-truths, deceptive promises, and scare tactics. Here's three of them. We got Father Cohen. He called in the radio priest for his weekly radio broadcast. He had more than 10 million listeners. He sometimes contradicted himself, one time advocating for the nationalization of banks, another for the sanctity of private property. He supported FDR in the New Deal, and later he would demonize it and call FDR a betrayer and a liar. By the end of the 30s, he was openly anti-Jewish and praised Hitler and Mussolini. In 1942, the Catholic Church ordered him to stop. Dr. Francis Townsend, the plan called for a guaranteed monthly pension of $200, which is quite a considerable sum in 1930s, to every retired citizen aged 60 or older, to be paid for by a form of a national sales tax of 2% on all business transactions. Influence FDR's Social Security program. And then you have people like Huey Long, who also called for a redistribution of the people's wealth. Okay. Roosevelt received criticism not for his programs but also for his actions. No act aroused more opposition than his attempt to pack the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was a pain in Roosevelt's butt. They had invalidated the NIRA, the AAA, and many progressive reforms. In February of 37, Roosevelt proposed a major court reform bill. The Constitution had not specified the number of Supreme Court justices. Congress had last changed the number in 1869 to 9. The number had been well established. Roosevelt said he just wanted to lighten the burden of the ancient justices and asked Congress to allow him to appoint as many as 6 additional justices, one for each justice of 70 years old. His real intention was to pack the court with judges supportive of the New Deal. He was blasted from both sides. Critics charged the FDR was undermining the Constitution on principle of separation of powers, increasing his power as president, and they asked him how far would he go. Republicans and now Southern Democrats were against him. Eventually, the older judges retired, allowing him to appoint justices who favored the New Deal. By the time FDR died in 1945, he had eventually had appointed all 9 justices to the Supreme Court. In August of 1937, the economy is going to collapse again. Industrial production fell, and so did employment levels. The nation will enter a recession. The new Social Security tax was partly to blame. The new tax came directly out of workers' paychecks through payroll deductions. With less money, Americans bought fewer goods. Americans also had less money because FDR had to cut way back on expensive programs such as the WPA. He had become distressed at the rising national debt or the total amount of money the federal government borrows and has to pay back. The national debt rose from $21 billion in 1933 to $43 billion in 1940. FDR would then expand the WPA and other programs to make more jobs. Okay, and that is the end of the New Deal. This is the last lesson I'll be teaching until
By then,
until the end of the year. If you want to watch the videos attached to it, the PowerPoints will be uploaded in a couple days. So I thank you for listening this semester, and I look forward to starting World War II with y'all in the spring.